Good afternoon. My name is Raymond, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the IP PBX webinar conference call. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. If you need assistance during the call, please press star, then 0, and an operator will come back online to assist you. Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. You may begin your conference.
Thank you, Raymond. Hi. I also like to welcome you to the Noble IPBX webinar. A little housekeeping. I know Raymond had mentioned that we are putting all your calls on mute. So at the end of the session, we will answer any questions you may have. You'll look at the top of your screen. You'll have a Q&A tab. Feel free to type in the questions that you may have during the session, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. My name is Ron Chudwick, and I'm the head of the sales in the Northeast for Noble Systems in Connecticut. And I've been with Noble a little over 3 years. Before that, I spent about 20 years in the PBX market, selling PBXs to medium and large businesses for the local telephone company here in Connecticut. After that, I did some inbound type IVR self-service selling with speech apps, and then later on came to Noble. I now would like to introduce Chris Riccio. Chris?
Thanks, Ron. I appreciate that introduction. By way of introduction, I've been with Noble Systems for 2 years, and my role is a senior sales engineer. My experience spans over 15 years in the contact center business, and 10 years of those spent directly with a large vacation ownership supplier and developer. We had 20 contact centers, 8 different resorts, and I handled everything from the infrastructure of the network facilities down to the wide area distribution of a contact center. So my role is really to focus not only on the technology, but also to put the technology together in an operational way that hopefully provides a solution that expands on the Noble technology and gives a good fit for our clients and customers.
Great, Chris. I want to now go through today's agenda. The first thing we're going to talk about are benefits of an IP PBX, the features when you want to install an IP PBX solution. Next, we'll talk about integrating an IP PBX within your existing call center operation. And then at the end, as I mentioned before, we'll have a question and answer period. Now we'll get into the benefits of an IP PBX. As soon as I click on the slides. Back about 1.5 years ago, I had a customer that had a call center operation with about 5 remote call center operation locations. They were doing telemarketing type services, and we provided a solution for both inbound and outbound agent call center activity. However, there was a need also for the administrators in these locations for their calling activity and functions. There was an IP infrastructure in place for their data communications between the central location and the remote locations. So it was a perfect opportunity for us to recommend and install an IP PBX. They had, as a result, substantial savings in both their operational and maintenance costs. With an IP PBX, you're going to have voice and data integration delivery to the desktop. You're also going to have integrated voice and data capability for your remote users if you have people that are going to be working at home or at other locations. And you'll have improved transaction processing, which will give you greater efficiencies. Additional benefits, let's see, I can get through this. As far as your voice over IP, you're going to be able to eliminate all your long-distance charges between offices. You no longer have to use the outside toll network to be able to communicate between these locations. And it will also provide centralized control, where you'll be able to have really centralized and comprehensive detailed reporting of all the communication that goes between the locations. We'll also be able to, excuse me, and you'll be able to do your own adds, moves, and changes. The It's a lot more flexible and easier to do. You don't need an outside professional organization to make those moves. You don't need a separate telecom administrator to be able to do these moves. All could be done on the software through the existing framework on the IPPBX.
Can I make a comment about the ads moves?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Anything you want to add there?
I think what's important to realize with the IPPBX is that you're leveraging an existing network. Many companies already have deployed Windows environments, or they may have a Linux environment, but the point is they have servers and end users or client users. So there's already a data network in place. One of the advantages of IP is that since you already have a data network in place, leveraging that network to its fullest potential is where you're going to benefit not only from efficiencies from office-to-office communication. Previously, if you didn't have an IP infrastructure in place, office-to-office communication was handled through a long-distance call. Since many corporations already have office-to-office site visibility with networks connected using emails and Word and different applications, an IPPBX can also be put on that same framework. And then with regards to adds, moves, and changes, in the old world, if you're still set up with a digital environment, typically if someone were to move an extension, so you have Sally who's in her cubicle, and she's being positioned in another facility, so you have to pick up her PC. You typically would have to contact either a telecom vendor or somebody internally from your IT staff to crawl under the desk, locate the lines for that phone, and then cross-connect or move those physical wires to a different point so that when Sally gets to her new cubicle, her phone works. In the case of an IP infrastructure, moving the phone is as simple as moving the PC. You grab the cable, which is connected to the network, you unplug it, Sally puts it in a box along with her PC. She takes her box to the new cubicle and simply lays it on the desktop and plugs it in. So adds, moves, and changes are much easier because the end user or the employee who needs that facility can move it themselves. So that's kind of one of the advantages. It really reduces vendor interaction to that extent.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Also, your conference bridging, you no longer have to rely on third-party external bridging. All your conference bridging can now be done through the IPPBX.
And I'd like to say, along with the conference bridge, I know that in our Noble corporate office, we do have an IPPBX, and we are utilizing the Noble IPPBX. Now, I happen to be a remote user, and I host conference calls all the time. So this is a great advantage for me to be able to utilize and leverage the IPPBX. I simply give my clients a phone number to dial into. They call my extension, and I have my own self-serve conference bridge, which is great because then I don't have to involve a third party to do that sort of hosting.
Right. Thanks, Chris. As far as additional features of the IPPBX, now we'll get into some softs. By the way, some of these were basically hard cost features that certainly could be measured that we talked about as far as reducing toll and network charges and all that. We're also getting to now some soft type reduction of costs as a result of some of the features of the IPPBX. Chris, you want to take over and go through some of these soft features?
Sure. The advantage of the IPPBX is that the software applications have become very robust and as far as efficiencies can provide so many more services that are integral to not only day-to-day business processes, but also especially for the road warrior who's out in the streets representing your company and going to meetings and things like that. The voicemail communications, one of the things that's really key here is the notification, immediate notification of voicemail on individual PCs or cell phones or pagers and BlackBerry, but with caller ID data. This oftentimes is known as unified communications. You get the information in, and wherever you happen to be, you can leverage the the IP environment to send the information to your PC to an email client. That's very helpful. Forwarding, this will allow users to receive their voicemails, and then when they receive those voicemails, they can visualize the voicemail in their voicemail box, or if it's coming through their email, they'll get the caller ID information. This is helpful because as an end user, I can spot check my email, notice that I have 5 voicemails, and I can select the one that I need to listen to first. Oftentimes in an older voicemail system, you have to listen to every message, where the last message might be the most important one. I can also, with an IPPBX, make a note about that voicemail or respond via email and attach the voicemail and send it off to whoever needs to see it. So that's very helpful. I know for myself working on the road, that's extremely helpful because I'm still in touch with my voicemails that come from the PBX even though I'm away from the office. Visual voicemail, you no longer have to listen to all the messages. Again, as I stated, you'll see the voicemail in your email box, and you can grab the one that's most important to you and forward it or annotate it, make a note, and forward it. The next option is follow me calling. Some folks refer to this as find me, follow me, but this is very helpful because I could call into the office and route my calls from my extension to any location that I happen to be at. So if I'm on site with a client and I have my pager with me or my BlackBerry, I can forward my direct extension calls and information to a different location so I'm still receiving my real-time calls. So that's very helpful. If I happen to be on vacation, that's good too. Enterprise instant messaging. IPPBXs typically have some other communication portal that allows you to communicate internally with users without the need for having to install or have a global instant messaging platform. A lot of clients will use external applications, and in this case, since it's already part of the IPPBX environment, it becomes an additional communication tool. And I think when it comes down to it, IP functionality, IPPBX, really gives you a wide variety of communication tools because it's all about communication, getting in contact with those folks instantly when you need them. What we have here in front of us is a snapshot of the Noble Systems IPPBX. Now here you'll see is I'm going to highlight this so you can watch. Here's the names and the extensions that you assign for users, and you'll see a red dot pop up as I highlight and go over each point. At the bottom, this is where you would add your phones. You would update a phone here or delete phones. So administration is simply a point and a click. Again, in the old world of digital PBX, you have to go in and disassemble a port, take the wires down. And folks that are familiar with it, certainly our telecom folks will understand what I'm speaking about. But the world does change with IPPBX because it's a software application. On the right here, you'll see the name, the MAC address, which is a fancy way of saying give me the physical address of my phone or the device. Off to the right are the different models. Now we'll show you that you can add different models to the solution as well, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. You have the extensions and the password. You can associate a voicemail box. Now you'll notice here the system can also create a voicemail box automatically. So when you're adding a new user, you're not having to go into two separate applications. You're simply adding the user here, telling the system here, I want to create the voicemail box automatically. And then you have your server information, the caller ID name, and ID information. Down below are some other options, codecs. If you're not telecom savvy or IT savvy, codec is just the language and how you translate the signal. So this is for IT type users. But any other user that can select these options can configure the solution. So it's very easy for a non-technical user. The next screen I have here is the voicemail boxes. Now you'll notice here at the bottom I can add a voicemail, update a voicemail, or delete a voicemail. In the previous screen, we have the same options for adding a phone, update a phone, and delete a phone. So the application is consistent from layer to layer, and it's very easy to navigate. Once you've done this once on one screen, all the other screens look very similar. Again, on the right, you have your name, the extension number, the password, and now you have some options for the voicemail. You can add the voicemail directly to a directory so that when someone calls in, they can press pound for a directory or however you've set that up. You can allow external calls, announce caller ID, allow breakout to an operator. And if you notice right here, this is where you would set up the email so that when someone gets a voicemail, you attach the voicemail directly to an email, and then once the recipient receives an email, they can still manage and handle their voicemail within their email. So it makes it an additional piece that's really handy because I can filter through my emails quickly, spot check the notes or the folks that I want to grab first, and then forward those voicemails as an email to somebody else. For me, since I'm a road warrior, getting this information on my email and a laptop and on my airport is very helpful. Let's go to the next screen. This is where you will configure the conference bridges. Now, if you look again at the bottom, it's the same interface. You add a bridge, update a bridge here, and then delete a bridge here. And then on the right, again, you've got your items or properties of how you assign the bridge. So we've got here Adams Bridge. We give it an extension number. And then you have options. Just like you joined the conference bridge today, it will announce the user account upon entering the users joining and leaving and enable music on hold. So this is where you handle the conference bridge. It's a self-help, great facility to put in your IP PBX. That way you're no longer using a third party for hosting that type of feature set, which usually costs you money. So there's a cost savings there as well. Some of the features of an IP PBX is the computer telephony integration. Simply put, it means because it's on an IP network, it's communicating on your network. When a call comes in, you can associate client information directly with the caller ID. So if a call is being received at Sally's desk, she can get a screen pop or information relevant. Okay, here's the phone number, but I see it's XYZ company calling me, and you can answer the phone appropriately. So it really helps the end user answer the calls in a friendly manner, but it also brings them up to speed in terms of who's on the phone. They can make decisions instantly, which is helpful. The automatic call distribution, folks know it as ACD, standard in most PBXs as well as the IP PBX. It allows you to distribute calls based on group settings, whether you're in a customer service group, an accounting group, an MIS group, or some other group. So automatic call distribution allows you to get improved customer service because we can route calls intelligently to the folks that need to receive the call first. Because when calls are coming in, it's all about timing. The customer's perception is if you get the calls quickly and efficiently, they're going to be a happier customer. An IP PBX also can give you interactive voice response, some simple features such as giving directions to an office, or perhaps a mailing address for payments, or a list of other operations. So again, it's about improved customer service, automating the experience, and efficient call handling. And that's what the IPBX offers you. Here we're looking at the interface for the groups. Now, again, at the bottom here, you see on the left, I can add a group, I can update a group, or delete a group. The interface looks very much like the other interfaces. So once you get used to one piece, it looks the same. I can create my groups here and give them a name in the right, and then once I have my groups, then I assign extensions to those groups. The next screen is the extension assignment. This is where I would give my extension ranges, whatever they happen to be. In the case of our IP PBX, we use the lower extensions for the end users, and then we associate the higher extension for the conference bridge. It helps the conference bridge users memorize their extensions. So if I have extension 225, my conference bridge number is usually 8225. So the point is that you can really drill down your numbering sequences that make sense in your facilities. The next one here is the phone models. Now, one thing that's important to remember about IP PBXs is that IP technology is universal. In a digital world, typically if you're buying a certain vendor's phone system, you have to use their phones. In an IP world, it's not necessarily the same. IP is communication traffic on the network, and you can use any IP-related phone on that system. So it does give you added advantages in that you may have already purchased or acquired some IP phones. When you move to an IP PBX platform, you can bring those phones to the system and expect the functionality. So here we have two models that we have listed in our IP phone system. Off on the right is how you would configure that IP. Again, here the codec is just the language or how we're going to handle the IP or the voice traffic in terms of encryption and doing a lot of IT magic behind the scenes. Down below here on the right, I can add a model, update a model, or delete a model of IP phones that can participate on the IP PBX. Some of the features of an IP PBX that are of great advantage is teleworker integration. Employees' normal extension can ring the phone anywhere from a home office to a soft phone. So really, wherever that IP PBX can communicate, we can reach an end user. So the boundaries are almost limitless, and it gives you a lot more flexibility. Ron, you told us about an example earlier of your clients that had remote offices. Were they also using remote workers that were sharing, and that's part of their reasoning for IP-PBX?
That is correct, yeah. They had different locations, 5 different locations, and they had administrators out in each one of them. Each location had about 4 lines, maybe up to about 10 extensions. Mm-hmm. And they were able to share and use those to make calls in between.
Great. Other advantages to the teleworker integration is that managers have visibility to see agents across the network. So I imagine, Ron, that part of the managers at each location, in terms of being able to manage the system wide, they could manage users in other offices even though they're not physically there.
Yes, they could. In one particular instance, it was all managed from a central corporate location. And then in another instance, they also had managers at each one of the remote locations that managed all the productivity that was going on from the agents and also, on the IP activity.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key reasons that folks come to me about IP-PBX is they have a remote worker that they want to give the remote flexibility, but they still need to manage the individual.
That's right. So the key here is that you could do either. You could do it from a centralized location, or you could do it from that local remote location and have people at the centralized location even manage the remote managers.
All right, perfect. Also, one of the advantages of IP-PBX is the integration of calls with the customer database. I think the key ingredient here is that since the IP-PBX is on the same network, integrating applications and customer database is much easier, and for efficiency's sake, the information is brought to the agent so they know all the information about clients. And oftentimes when clients do reach out, it's important to understand who the client is and it helps enhance the relationship, and that enhances customer service. Companies that record phone calls can also put the actual recordings directly into the customer's record database. And there are some really good things that you can do in terms of integration and with Noble as well, and we'll be talking about that in just a moment. From a reporting perspective, call detail records are readily available. Live recorded calls can be reviewed at any time, and quick access to information is really what we're talking about. Communication is all about quick access to information, making quick decisions about interactivity. Here I'm showing you the Noble Systems configuration page for the users. And again, at the bottom here, you can add a user, update a user, or delete users. And on the right through here, I've got 101 through 735 are the users that you've named. And on the right, I can create the user and the password, select the type of user, and save. So it's a straightforward interface. It looks just like the other interfaces. The last tab we have here in the configuration of the Noble IP-PBX is the licensing. And here you can see an overview of how many phone lines or channels you have associated, digital extensions, analog extensions, operator consoles, voicemails, and conference bridges. And what I think is important to note here is that while this is an IP-PBX, you can see here that Noble also provides you a migration path for slowly moving into IT. Many times clients are concerned with making the leap from a digital environment or an analog environment, which is basically digital is what most corporate facilities have, and analog phones are what most people have at their home. In facilities that are concerned with jumping to IP, we still have a way to provide a migration path that allows the client to move to IP when they're ready, and that's why you're seeing digital PBXs and analog extensions here as well, and I meant to say digital extensions. So this is where the licensing is found. So integrating the Noble IP-PBX into the enterprise, we're going to discuss and go over what Noble integration options are available to our clients. The PBX SIP interconnectivity is what we're talking about. SIP is another way that we look at IP, and it's more geared towards the communication of voice on a network. Noble Systems offers a variety of connectivity options for many PBX environments, and you saw earlier that I showed you the legacy analog connectivity, which is the type of phones you would have at home. We can also integrate with digital technology, which is what most folks have today. And then voice over IP, which we've been talking about. We do offer VoIP connectivity, including SIP integrations at two levels, both at the user level internally on the PBX as well as the dial tone externally. I think simply put, Noble molds to fit your environmental needs and infrastructure. What I skipped here was Noble Systems works within the client-provided options and environmental variables. I think that's important because what we want to do is provide a solution that allows the client to comfortably leverage what they have while charting a path for the future to leverage IP technology. The digital PBX integration is the most common integration in a Noble Systems environment. In this configuration, the Noble platform connects directly to the phone system using a T1 connection, commonly known as tie lines. In other words, Noble dialer is sitting right alongside with the PBX, and we have a connection between the dialer and the PBX so that we can speak directly to the PBX. This is referred to as a floating station configuration. The agent phone and user is floating on the phone system's PBX. This allows the Noble dialer to sit in any PBX environment while not forcing the client to have, or the agent to have, two devices on their desktop. Now what we're looking at here is the Noble dialer is connected directly to the PSTN or the phone carrier network. So this PSTN here is your Verizon's, your Sprint, other telco providers. And Noble sits directly connected. Calls are placed by the Noble dialer without the involvement of the client PBX. The Noble dialer also connects to the client PBX, and this connection link here in the middle is a T1 connection directly to the PBX. This allows Noble to communicate with the PBX, allowing the agents to receive the dialer-placed calls directly on their phone extension on their PBX. And this is what you're seeing here. So this is what the connection physically looks like behind the scenes. Agents use their phone extensions as usual for dialer phone system PBX calls. Typically in a PBX world, the agent network that you see here on my agents is separate, and you see there's no connection between the phone here and the network from the phone system and the dialer. Agents continue using their network applications, such as Word or Excel as usual. The telephone network or the PBX are separate from the data network. If you have remote offices, in the case of your client, you'll see here off on the right, I have a remote office at the top and I have a remote office at the bottom. They each have their own PBX facilities. And on the left over here is the original PBX that I was showing you. Remote offices typically have their own system PBXs and dialers. All network applications, which are internal here, are the emails, Excel, and Word, are a shared resource for those users. Now let's talk about how does that change when we use an IP PBX and integrating with an IP PBX. Noble provides integration using a wide variety of IP PBX platforms. I think what's important to understand here is that clients that are not on an IP PBX platform can still leverage IP technology utilizing a Noble IP gateway. We refer to it as a media server. It does use the H.323 technology and SIP technologies for communication, but simply put, it does provide voice over IP technology for integrating a Noble solution. In a SIP environment, it looks very much like the original digital environment. You have the Noble dialer connected to the telco carrier, Sprint, Verizon, for creating dialer calls. Then you have, this is where it changes, then you could have an IP gateway or a media server. The role of the media server here is to take a standard Noble digital technology infrastructure dialer to communicate in an IP world. So the IP gateway does the translation of the standard dialer technology. And I purposely left this blank here, but on the right is now the network. Now you'll see right here where that red button is. Can you see that, Ron? This is
yes, I could, Chris.
Okay, this is the Noble IP PBX. You'll notice what's different is that it is now connected directly to the network just as the phones are, because they are also voice over IP, and now the regular applications such as database applications, Word applications, everybody is on the network. Now what's important is the next piece here. You'll notice that with the use of this gateway in the center, or the media server, Noble is now connected directly to the Noble IP PBX on the client network. That means every device, including the phones, the computers, and the dialer, are now part of the same network. Skipping to the next slide, you'll see what changes here with remote end users, and off on the right here I have a remote office, and you'll notice now this PBX is connected to the network. This PBX is connected to the network. They're all IP, and all resources across the network are shared. Remote offices that are connected to the same network can now communicate between offices easily. So I have agents here on the right at the top that could communicate with agents here in the center because they have a common ground, which is their WAN network or their wide area network. Contact centers.
I'm sorry.
Question?
No, Chris, I was just going to say this is exactly the customer that I was mentioning earlier, what they did. And we implemented with the remote office locations, and they were able to communicate between offices by using that network. And there's where they eliminated and reduced all their toll charges.
Exactly. And I always figure if the client is spending XYZ dollars on a data network, they can continue to leverage that with IP and not spend any additional money depending on their volume.
That's exactly what happened.
Now, what I'm showing you here, Ron, is a different view of remote offices connected. Now, I want to show you what's different here. Up on the right remote office, you'll see I have our standard PBX. Look what's right between the PBX is the IP gateway or the media server. This allows me to have, even though I'm IP here in the center, with an IP PBX, I can still bring in a standard PBX through the communication device of an IP gateway, and now I've joined this PBX into the IP environment. Now this office, remote office on the right at the bottom, is an IP PBX, but with the use of a Noble IP gateway, we can bring even non-IP platforms into an IP world, which then allows you to leverage remote users in a shared fashion. I will go to the next slide. The benefits of unified contact centers, and I'm sure your client is already reaping the benefits, includes that resource pooling of agents. So agents in this office on the top on the right can work in a group with this office on the bottom and in the center. So if there's a call received in any one of these offices, any other agent can receive the call as well. Also, you can resource pool telephone lines for message broadcasting. As you know, Noble does a lot of messaging and message broadcasting. Resourcing those pools helps you really push the limits of the system. Campaign screen pop data and centralized individual contact center management is really also an added benefit for the IP environment.
One of the things that we did and looked at was doing kind of a business assessment to see what type of functions were needed, both from the central location to those remote locations. And from that is where you determined, and you could really get a good return on your investment and determine what that potentially would be.
Oh yeah, and I think that's key to any solution. That's where I come in with you, and we discuss with the client their business needs, and we come up with a solution together.
Exactly.
So in conclusion, do you want to take this?
Sure. I mean, in conclusion to, and kind of summarizing what we talked about so far, with the IP PBX solution, we showed you both hard savings and cost savings. As far as the potential hard savings, you could eliminate your toll, as we showed you in some examples. You can reduce your network and administrative costs, especially since you already have these IP infrastructures in place and these networks in place for your data communications. And there are also soft-type productivity gains that Chris had showed and mentioned in terms of the other features like voicemail messaging and basic IVR and call routing and so forth. These could all be taken a look at, doing a business assessment, and determine what your return on your investment would be potentially. All this is capable by simultaneously transmitting the data, the voice, and the video over one pipe. And of course, the added flexibility you will get and receive because, you're able to do your changes, your adds and moves with ease and flexibility. You could also add people remotely, whether they want to work out of their homes or other remote locations.
Oftentimes when I'm on the road, I'll use my soft phone at the airport. It's great.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. I guess we could get into some questions. We still have some time, a few minutes here.
It looks like we have 4 questions.
Yeah, would you like me to start? Let me ask the first one that came in.
Mm-hmm.
Said we run soft phone from Counterpath, and we'll work we run soft phone from Counterpath. Will your solution work with the licenses I have already purchased?
Short answer is yes. As we discussed, the Noble IP PBX supports SIP soft phones like Counterpath, and you can bring other SIP-related devices to the Noble IP PBX.
Okay, great. Second item is a question that came in. Will your product work in concert with the Noble dialer? And if the dialer is down, could our agent switch to the IP PBX to generate calls? Have the agent generate calls?
Absolutely, yes. The Noble IP PBX does work in concert with the Noble Contact Center solution. We have many clients already utilizing and taking advantage of the benefits. And in the event that there is an outage, it can also be used as a backup or a disaster recovery or a business continuity plan, and agents simply will just make calls manually through the PBX, the IP PBX, until the dialer comes back up.
Okay, great. The next one is kind of a cost question. What's the cost for a system with the size of 15 staff?
Well, I think you have to contact your sales account manager for that. But for systems over 30 extensions, station list price around $600 to $1,200 per station. And it really depends on the options and the size of the system.
Right. That's exactly right. Good. And I guess the last question is, let's see, do we have any more? But here's the fourth one that I see. When the stock market breaks through 10,000 again, asked us a question whether the stock market would break 10,000 again. Could you answer that, Chris?
I don't know anything about the stock market.
But they said, but seriously, they do quite a bit of inbound, and how does that work with respect to voice over IP?
Oh, on the inbound side, the Noble IP PBX uses VoIP for primary communication path. SIP trunking, which is voice over IP, T1 and E1 are also available for PSTN connectivity. And again, PSTN is like your phone company, so it would be no different for us on the inbound side. We certainly support inbound.
Okay. Well, I guess that's about what time we have for the questions. We'll answer any one we didn't get to, and we'll respond directly to that person that answered the question. As far as if you need any more complete demonstrations of the Noble IP PBX, or if you have any further questions, you could certainly look us up on the website or contact us at info@noblesys.com. We will also list a recording of this presentation in a couple of days on our website. That'll be at www.noblesys.com. Chris, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just that I have an open door policy. If any client wants to send a question in to Noble and they specifically want to address it to me, that would be fine too. I like hearing from clients and understanding their business needs to help them come up with a solution that either leverages IP technology to help them maximize their efficiency across their network.
Well, that's great. And I want to thank everybody for attending again, and thank you.